You guys have to see what's happening to Bitcoin. Just as we predicted in our video yesterday, Bitcoin broke down from the symmetrical triangle and tested the monthly open at 29,000 US dollars. Congratulations to everyone that took our long trade at $29,000 on our Discord. We sent a buy limit order. For those that are not in our Discord, the link is in the description below. This is for our premium members. You can see on our day trades. We also took an Ethereum trade at 1,050, and that was the exact moment Bitcoin also bottomed at 29,000, being the fact that Ethereum follows Bitcoin. But more importantly, we have to look at traditional markets and precious metal markets today, and we'll look at Bitcoin to talk about whether or not we're going to continue to the upside or continue to the downside. There's so much to cover today. You guys are watching the Snipers channel. Remember to like this video if you appreciate this content. My name is Naeem, and let's just dive straight into this analysis. So looking at what's happening in Bitcoin, just as we predicted in our video yesterday, if you took the short trade, we came down to 29,000 US dollars. For those in our Discord, we took a long position here at that monthly open at 29,000, which ended up being the bottom for Bitcoin, and that saw a major bounce to the upside. Now, what I'm watching right now for the bullish momentum is for us to start coming up and retesting this breakdown level. Now, this was the support level that broke us down to the $29,000 level. We want to start getting above that support level, and so that's going to be right at that $35,000 area. If we're able to close hourly candles above the support level, I think that Bitcoin is going to be extremely bullish into the next week. However, if we come up here and we reject and we start to see hourly candles close below this major resistance, then in my opinion, there is a possibility Bitcoin can continue to the downside and for us to possibly come down to retest that monthly open. And if that does come down a second time, once again, any support level that's tested twice, it becomes weaker than the first test, and that could break us down to that $23,795 level. But for that scenario to happen, we want to start to see this test of this resistance and for us to see weakness. If we don't see weakness and we start to cross over, that's going to be extremely bullish for Bitcoin. And from there, this weekly open, which is going to reset next week, is going to be a critical resistance level, and we will watch that weekly open as we head into the weekend where we see more manipulation in this market. But for now, we know that the previous weekly open is at 38,162. I have that drawn out in green, and I will make it a tradition on this channel to go ahead and keep the monthly and the weekly open from the previous month and week on the chart so that we know those potential resistance and support levels, because we know whales like to manipulate levels from previous weeks. And so looking at Ethereum, we've seen way more strength with Ethereum than we've seen with Bitcoin on this run up. We actually saw us come right back into this parallel channel here for Ethereum. That's very positive in my opinion, looking at the Ethereum to Bitcoin chart. Remember, this is one of the most bullish charts I've ever seen in the history of crypto. We've broken major weekly resistance levels, and if we look at the potential upside, we are talking about almost 500% upside when we look at this huge triangle that you can't actually even see on this chart. You actually have to pull up the Poloniex chart to see how bullish this really is, because Poloniex is the only chart that has enough price history to see how bullish this breakout is for Ethereum. You can see we've got a potential of 500% gains here with this Ethereum to Bitcoin chart breakout. And so every time Bitcoin is pulling back, I am personally allocating more capital into Ethereum than Bitcoin just because I see a huge potential. And if you understand gold to silver ratio in the precious metal markets, it's very similar to the Bitcoin to Ethereum ratio, and Ethereum is quite undervalued when it comes to Bitcoin value right now, looking at this Poloniex chart. So understand that if we pull up the Ethereum to US dollar chart, there's not much that I want to cover because Ethereum is going to follow Bitcoin. And so yesterday, I was looking to see $1,000 for Ethereum, but I knew that as soon as Bitcoin hit my target of 29,000, that was it. And that's why I sent out this day trade for those in our Discord for Ethereum at 1,050, because I knew that we were most likely not going to see $1,000, and that's exactly what happened. From there, we saw a massive run up with Ethereum all the way up about 17% from our entry already, and that's way more percentage gains than what we saw with Bitcoin, which only saw about 11% from our entry. And so realize that Ethereum is going to move faster and better, in my opinion. There's a lot more liquidity, and it's a lot more lucrative than Bitcoin at this point. Now, this is extremely interesting to see when we look at Bitcoin dominance, which has a huge influence on what's happening to these altcoins. We are continuing to form lower lows. We're seeing massive sell pressure here and weakness for Bitcoin dominance, and that's extremely positive for those that are trading our altcoins. Of course, Ethereum and Bitcoin are not the only coins we trade. We trade all of the other altcoins, especially what we're seeing now with some of the legacy coins. And then, of course, the DeFi coins last week saw major gains. But we're seeing a lot of positive altcoin gains here. And Others dominance is just proof of that. You can see it's continuing to float to the higher levels. And on the weekly chart, if we pull up those moving averages that we've been watching, we are trying to come up now above this 200 period moving average. So this altcoin season may be stronger than our previous altcoin season, because our previous altcoin season we rejected that 200 period moving average, but this altcoin season it looks like we're not rejecting. We're going to continue higher, and I think that makes a lot of sense when we look at how much money is locked up in DeFi right now, over $20 billion, and the ICO boom in 2018 really was only around $7 billion, and so this is 3 times as big as what happened in 2018. Altcoins right now, there's a lot of institutional eyes on it, and there's a lot of capital that's going to start flowing into altcoins. Remember, Ethereum futures are going to launch in February, and our bear market from last year started from Bitcoin futures, and so we have to keep that in mind. And when we look at the dollar value, you can see, just as we've predicted, we're seeing not that much strength here. We're just consolidating within this major support level from our previous support that eventually turned into a bull rally for the dollar. But for now, we're just consolidating. Nothing to go home and tell mom about. This is just normal relief rallies that we'll see as the dollar continues to lose value and as we start to see this new this new era of money printing. And so one interesting thing I want to talk about is precious metals. New high here, new yearly high for platinum. Platinum usually is a leading indicator at some time. Sometimes it's a leading indicator for gold and silver. And so we're seeing new highs here. That's very positive for precious metals. Of course, gold and silver aren't necessarily seeing as much strength, but when you actually look at the gold to Bitcoin chart, we're actually starting to see a little bit of momentum for gold here against Bitcoin. Now remember, we have this major bullish divergence on the daily chart here, and so if gold is able to cross above this monthly open, which is the previous 2017 bottom for gold to Bitcoin, then that could be very interesting when it comes to gold against Bitcoin. We might start to see liquidity come into gold, especially as we start to see Bitcoin dominance drop and we start to see Bitcoin so overextended. So it's really going to depend on whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to come back above this major resistance that was previous support. If that happens, then Bitcoin will continue its bullish rally. If not, then we will look at more downside targets, and of course 23,795 is a CME gap that's left down there. That's our next target if we start to see any sort of weakness with Bitcoin's price. Now, interestingly enough, the Euro 100 forming a new high here, so that's continuing to the upside. So that shows that traditional markets are still showing a lot of strength. And then I also want to talk about this THETA USDT trade that we took on our Discord as well, outside of that Bitcoin and Ethereum trade, because a lot of you guys are asking me about these breakout trades. So I do want to cover these breakout trades. So this was actually a sell stop, and so a lot of you guys are talking about us and our buy stops, but sell stops are for breakdown. So it's the opposite of breakout trades. We had an entry here at that green line, 1.7035. I want to talk about why we took this trade. So this was a very simple trade in my opinion. So pretty much what I looked at on this chart was the fact that every single time we've crossed below or above this level, it's acted as a resistance or support. The first time it acted as resistance was here, and then from there, once we crossed above, we formed new highs for THETA. And so I knew that we never touched that level to the downside until we came down here, which formed this ascending support level, right? And so prior to us coming down here where we took the trade, we actually sent this trade out right around this time. What I was looking at was the fact that we had a support here that touched once, twice, a third time. And here's something I'll teach you. When there's a support level and we're heading towards that support level when it comes to market structure, that support or resistance is going to act like a magnet. Just how the Bitcoin monthly open acted as a magnet and as a major support, that support level here, the one that we're looking at, is going to act as a magnet. And so I knew that if THETA were to break down beyond this point, that we were most likely going to see further downside to most likely come towards that support level, and that alone was about 8% profits. And so I sent out that trade. Of course, THETA eventually hit that entry, dropped down towards that ascending support level, and that ended up hitting all targets. So that's the difference between a buy stop and a sell stop for those in our Discord group. I want to make that very clear. So to wrap up this video, I want you guys to realize with Bitcoin right now, it is a very critical time, and we are still in this consolidation phase, and I expect Ethereum to see a lot more strength than Bitcoin as we start to see any sort of consolidation with Bitcoin. And as we start to approach this resistance level, we have to watch this to see if we're going to start closing hourly candles below or above, because if we start to stay below it and see weakness, then there's a high chance Bitcoin will come down again and test that monthly open. But for now, we saw pretty good volume at that monthly open. You can see we saw a major push to the downside, but then more buyers than sellers came in to pick Bitcoin up, and so that to me is very positive. We only wicked down to that monthly open. We couldn't even close any hourly candles near that monthly open, which is very bullish in my opinion. It was a very healthy test of the monthly open, so there was nothing wrong with that. And congratulations to those that took our short and long trade. For now, I'm going to just be watching to see what happens at this resistance level before assuming any short or long trades. If we break to the upside here into this triangle again, then we could look at some longs. If we get rejected, I will look at some short trades, and I will keep you guys updated on the channel. Remember to subscribe and turn on those post notifications. Click that little bell to ensure you get our content first. And with that being said, that's pretty much it for today. I'll see you guys in the Discord. So much exciting news here in the cryptocurrency market and so much more to come. With that being said, guys, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you guys, and I couldn't be doing this without you. So snipers out.